Day 34, y'all, of the government shutdown with no end in sight. This is serious. Very concerning. We're hearing people were skipping meals already before this happened with the food stamps, just to feed their kids. People are crying, y'all. They are hurting. This is not a game. I don't care whether left or right. They're both wrong. Just to let y'all know, if any of y'all are wondering, we are neither left nor right. We're not Democrat or Republican anymore. We're on God's side. The best place to be.
Yes. And what they're doing now is they're causing people to be in hunger because they're saying for health insurance. That is no reason, and they know it. You don't ever let somebody starve or make somebody do without food for insurance. You can't eat insurance or get housing allowance or whatever you need. That can be settled later. You have to make sure the basic needs are met. And that's not a basic need. And it reminds me of the story in the Bible about the talents when Christ came back after a long journey. And the one with 10 talents, or is it 5, Cheryl? Well, he was given more when his talents was multiplied. There was 2 of them that had talents that were multiplied. The last servant hid it in the ground because he said that Christ was a hard person and he didn't want to lose it. He wanted to give it back to him. Well, you know, Satan plays the game of trying to copy Christ. What he's doing right now, and people might not realize it, is Satan is using these people to take away from the poor, to give those who've been obeying him, obeying Satan. He's taking away from the poor and giving it to them, multiplying what they got. So he's doing the exact opposite of what Christ does when he comes back to those who are unfaithful servants. He's saying they're unfaithful in this world who have not become millionaires, the poor people. So they're being taken away from to give to the rich. That's what's going on here. Don't be, offended by it. It's going to happen. All we can do is help one another as much as we can to finish the race. We got to keep going and finish the race. Don't give up your salvation. Don't wax cold. Help one another.
Yes.
Because their blood runs cold. They have no feelings for the poor, for the homeless, for the old, for the children. They wouldn't be doing this if they did. You have to help one another. Finish the race. Thank you, Lord.
Amen. Thank
Amen.
you, Lord. Will y'all take a look at this video?
In New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. We do begin tonight with the government shutdown, day 34 now. Tomorrow it ties the longest shutdown ever, which played out during President Trump's first term. Tonight, more than 40 million Americans seeing their food benefits run out after a federal judge's order. The Trump administration now says it will take steps to partially fund the SNAP program. Across the U.S. tonight, food banks are now seeing a surge of Americans in need. You can see their long lines of cars waiting to pick up supplies from California to Florida to the Northeast. We've heard from so many families who work and still do not have enough to pay the bills and to pay for food on the table. They count on this help. After a judge ordered the Trump administration to use emergency funds to pay for SNAP, the administration says those emergency funds will only cover a little more than half of the $8 billion needed to fund it just this month alone. On Capitol Hill, there is no sign of this stalemate breaking. Democrats say Republicans need to address health insurance premiums set to skyrocket for millions in addition to this hunger. Republicans have said we'll address health care later. ABC's Jay O'Brien leading us off from the Hill tonight.
Tonight, with the country on the brink of the longest shutdown in history, fear and confusion for 42 million Americans after critical federal food assistance ran out over the weekend. Under order from a federal judge, the Trump administration now says it will tap all $4 billion remaining in SNAP's emergency funds to cover roughly half of the food program for November, but warning it will take a few weeks or even several months to pay out, leaving tens of millions of Americans in limbo like Simone Wilkes.
It has been days where the kids eat and I'll just survive off water.
We first met Simone, a working single mom, a week ago when she was already skipping meals to feed her 2 young boys. After SNAP ran out, the state telling her benefits will come but may be delayed. Tonight, we asked how much money she has left for food.
$23.
You have $23.
Yeah. I do not know what I'm going to do.
You're counting on that money now. How much do you have left in your SNAP account?
0.
Across the country, more families turning to food pantries.
Thank you so much.
Tonight, gridlock on Capitol Hill not breaking. Democrats holding firm in the shutdown to force Republicans to come to the table on health insurance, with premiums set to skyrocket for millions of Americans, and calling on the Trump administration to keep SNAP afloat.
Wouldn't the easiest way to fund SNAP just be for Democrats to vote to fund the government?
No, the easiest way to fund SNAP is for the administration to do exactly what it's done in so many other instances. This is an intentional, vicious choice that Donald Trump and Republicans are making.
But the administration saying there's little to no money left. President Trump promising he'll negotiate on health care after the government reopens. Democrats saying they don't believe him.
We can fix it with the Democrats. All they have to do is let the country open and we'll fix it.
And David, bottom line tonight, SNAP benefits for November will at minimum be reduced, and there's no telling when they'll go out. It could take weeks or months, the administration says. And tomorrow, this shutdown ties the record for the longest in U.S. history, a record set during the first Trump administration. David.
Jay O'Brien leading us off here tonight. Jay, thanks.
And if the food stamp catastrophe is not enough, y'all take a look at this next video where Trump wants to cut disability and get people to go to work doing whatever job they can. And where are they going to go to work and how are they going to go to work when Trump's plan is for AI to cut all our jobs?
Where they're talking about Uber Eats and Dash to Door. DoorDash, okay, for food deliveries. I think it pays like $8 maybe, and a flat for your car is $18. Well, when people losing their jobs, how many people are going to try to get you to deliver something when they can't even buy food and they're cutting food stamps? So how is people in disability going to go out and work doing this when you can't fix your car and there's less people buying food? And then what I've read about this, that they want to do a biometrics picture of your face and continually do it every delivery. That sounds like a graven image. People need to look into this. And they're saying, oh, well, just do that. Well, why are they pushing this? Is there something wrong with this biometric picture you got to take? But anyway, it's just a thing where they're really pushing the poor and the disabled out the door. It's a horrible thing. We should be just disgraced for it. Look at this next video, please.
The Trump administration is proposing changes to Social Security disability benefits that will make access to those benefits significantly harder, according to new reporting from ProPublica. One change would be to update the job listings used to determine whether a worker has the skills to do another less strenuous job instead of receiving assistance. Another change would almost entirely remove age as a criteria for eligibility, putting the applications of older workers in the same pool as younger workers. If adopted in its current form, ProPublica reports that as many as 1.5 million Americans could lose eligibility over the next decade, and workers in Republican-led states will be hit the hardest. Joining us now, ProPublica reporter Eli Hager. Eli, thanks for joining us. Let's start small. Tell me about one of the people you interviewed for this story and how these new changes might affect him.
Sure. I interviewed somebody named Christopher Tincture, who's a 55-year-old in rural Arkansas. He's been a working person his whole life. He started out his working career working in coal mines in Kentucky and West Virginia. And he's worked at Walmart, and he's been a long-distance trucker and all these kinds of jobs. He eventually lost, through some of his work that he was doing at a wastewater facility, he lost his leg and is probably going to have to lose his other leg. And he qualified for disability benefits in part because he's 55, and eligibility is in the current system increases when you're in your 50s. It makes it a little bit easier to get benefits because you've been through that lifetime of work, and it's harder for you to switch careers at that point. So the Trump rule would change that system of eligibility increasing by age.
So if there was also a less strenuous job eligibility requirement, would Tincture then have to apply for jobs that would be, I guess, less of a burden on him in terms of mobility?
Right. So two things would happen. Number one, somebody like him, I can't say what would happen exactly in his case, but somebody like him with that experience, their age would no longer be taken into account. So they would be treated the same in the disability adjudication as a 20-something. And then secondly, the jobs listings would be updated. So it would show that, say in his area of Arkansas, there is this sort of low-skilled, more sedentary job behind a computer that maybe he could do. In his view and the view of disability advocates and union leaders, that sort of pulls the rug out from working class people who have only done a certain type of manual job their whole life, whether it's in coal mining or logging or construction work. And those are the skills that they have. And now they're being told that actually the system is changing now that they've reached their most medically vulnerable years, and that they're going to have to learn how to do something on a computer instead of getting these disability benefits that they paid into the system for.
Who are the proponents of this?
So it's actually something that originated in the first Trump term, something that some Social Security officials in the first Trump administrations were pushing. They didn't get it done before 2020 and when President Trump lost that election. And then it's been brought back this year and pushed, including by Russell Vought, the head of the Office of Management and Budget, who was one of the originators of Project 2025. And now it's being pushed, and it's sort of on the regulatory timeline, which can take a while, but one federal bulletin says it could be published in December.
So when the Trump administration has talked about cutting programs, they haven't done it with this one specifically, but largely what they do is they say these are Democrats that are taking advantage of the system, or that's what they imply. You write in your article that this is going to affect red states and Donald Trump's own voters, some of his most loyal voters, in fact. How are you able to make that determination?
Right. So, yeah, it's sort of interesting that this is being done more quietly. Obviously, we have all this coverage of the cutoffs that are happening to SNAP, and we know that work requirements are going to be added to Medicaid through the what we call the One Big Beautiful Bill, and those all happen very quickly. And as you said, the Trump administration portrayed those as being relied on by immigrants and Democrats and so on. But this is being done quietly through the regulatory process, and ProPublica, we had to source within the Social Security Administration to know exactly what was happening. And the way that we're able to tell that it would affect these workers, especially in southern states, is we just look at who relies on disability benefits by state. So in the map that you're showing there, West Virginia, Arkansas, Kentucky, and also Mississippi and Alabama have much higher proportions of their residents relying on disability benefits. And the people who would specifically be affected by these rules would be 50 to 60-year-olds who have worked in manual labor jobs, don't have a high school or college education, and so therefore they'd be affected by the situation of having to find a new job behind a computer or possibly driving for Uber or DoorDash or something like that.
And those are predominantly Trump voters in that demographic in those places?
Yeah, I mean, as we've analyzed over the years, in West Virginia, Arkansas, Kentucky, Mississippi, Alabama are overwhelmingly voted for President Trump. And then within that, working class voters who are 50 to 60 years old have been disproportionately Trump voters.
All right, Eli Hager. Eli, thank you so much for bringing us this reporting. I appreciate it.
Things are not returning to normal, y'all. If y'all heard anybody say things are not going to return to normal, the economy's not going to return to normal, they were right. It's not going to return to normal. The only way they can come in with the Great Reset, and that's what this is all about, the Great Reset. The only way they can come in with the Great Reset is to take away everything we have now.
Take away the jobs. It's all a big transfer of wealth from us to them. That's what the Great Reset is. Take a look at this.
Reset, it's a great deception. Replacing mum and dad, small businesses and private enterprises with big tech and big business. Democracy and free enterprise go out the window. Totalitarian government control slides in through the back door. Those behind this scheme are adamant that there can be and never will be a return to normal. That life will never again be what it was prior to COVID. That is why they constantly talk about the new normal. The World Economic Forum meets every January in Davos. You'll have heard of the expression Davos man. It refers to all the zillionaires and pop stars and popes and princes and politicians who meet every year to map out our futures. This year's Davos is very, very different to all the previous ones. The World Economic Forum, along with the United Nations, along with the International Monetary Fund, and along with any number of prominent globalist organizations and powerful individuals, including Prince Charles, together have jointly promised that the 2021 World Economic Forum will be used to introduce, via a vast network of connected big tech corporations, online activist movements, and compliant local and national governments, something they call the Great Reset. This isn't some Sky After Dark fantasy conspiracy theory. It is a global commitment they have made to use the panic and fear generated by the coronavirus as a means to reshape all our economies and laws and move to a new form of capitalism that focuses on net zero emissions. You might think this is a great thing. You might think this is a terrible thing. If implemented successfully, the Great Reset will undeniably and deliberately have extreme and possibly dire repercussions for every single one of your constituents. Already, the Great Reset is being widely advertised on posters and in ads across the UK and Europe, and no doubt will be here before too long. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy is just one of their marketing slogans. The plan involves replacing shareholders of big companies with stakeholders who happen to be left-wing bureaucrats and climate change zealots. Replacing mum and dad, small businesses and private enterprises with big tech and big business. Mrs. Kafut's share portfolio is out. Greta Thunberg's zero emissions are in. Democracy and free enterprise go out the window. Totalitarian government control slides in through the back door. But remember, it's not only a great reset, it's a great deception. Because in order to get everyday people to surrender many of the rights and freedoms we currently take for granted, the repeatedly stated aim of these organizations is